Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Right here from the frosty figure tip, the Farrell's fantastic fountain is the largest sundae in all the world, and it is so big that it takes 2 strong men to carry it.
The idea was a simple one. Great food, great ice cream, great service, and great fun. In a few short years, Bob Farrell's simple idea took off like a rocket. Farrell's ice cream parlors sprang up all over America. Farrell personally oversaw the opening of more than 130 stores. By the time he sold his business in the early 70s, Farrell's ice cream parlors had come to represent the idea of fun family dining for a whole generation.
How many of you ever been to Farrell's ice cream parlor? Oh! Would you mind returning the silverware you took? You took it, didn't you? The louder they laughed, the more they took. Why am I speaking to you? I'm in a restaurant business. Well, because you and I are in the same business. We're in the people business. Customers, who are they? They own our business. They own your insurance companies and your banks. They own my restaurants. They tell me when to open and when to close, what to have on the menu and what not. They tell you what kind of policies they need, what kind of banking they need. They tell you everything. They buy our next car. They buy our next home for us. They give us everything we ever want. So in all reality, who are they? They're the boss. Now, a lot of people say that. It's a trite saying. But I'm telling you, you're going to leave here, you're not going to forget it. Because I'm going to ask you, who is the customer during my talk? And I want all 558 of you to shout back, the boss. Can you do that? Okay, let's practice it. Ready? Who's the customer? The boss. Not bad. In our restaurant business, we have cards on the tables to see if everything was okay. And sometimes something goes wrong, and the manager loves to let me know ahead of time. So one night, one of these situations, the manager calls me up from Jansen Beach. He said, Mr. Farrell, I had a problem tonight. I said, what was it, Ed? He said, a party came in, and they said they had a reservation. I didn't have it in the book. There was 12 of them. I said, oh, brother, what'd you do? He said, well, I didn't want to tell them. They may have been at the wrong restaurant, but they had to wait, and it was about 38 minutes to get them a table. I said, oh, brother. He said, well, it got worse. Kitchen was behind. Things were wrong. I didn't have the right crew. I apologized. It took 40 minutes to get the food out. I said, oh, my goodness, what happened? And he says, well, I did what I had to do. I bought him after dinner drinks. I bought him dessert. I talked to him. I went back. I visited the table and everything. And he says, I think everything's fine. I says, why do you think everything's fine? He said, well, as they were leaving, the host of their party turned and said, I'll be back. I hung up the phone. I thought, that is the greatest 3 words we can ever hear in our business, all of us. I'll be back. I'll buy another policy. I don't want you to forget that. So I'm going to ask you during my talk, give me the 3 magic words we always want the customers to think or say, and I want you to shout back, I'll be back. Can you do that? Let's practice. I know you're all sophisticated insurance people, but I want you to try it. Give me the 3 magic words we always want the customer to think or say. I'll be back. Not bad. You're improving. Improving. Customer is the boss. I had a run problem one night. I was giving this talk to a group of funeral parlor operators. I forgot who I was talking to. I said, and they all went, I'll be back? I'll be back. You stop and think about all the time and money and training and planning that goes into just getting a customer in your door or on the telephone. Then you multiply that, all the time and money that's spent taking care of the customers and their needs, making sure that they're satisfied. And all that, if they don't think and say those 3 magic words, I'll be back, you're back to square one. You've lost the game. Well, my job on this program is to help you win the game. I've been fortunate enough to succeed in a business where service is everything. Think about it. People can stay home and eat. They can cook a hamburger, get a dish of ice cream out of the refrigerator. But when they go into a restaurant, they're there for service. People ask me all the time, whatever happened to Farrell's ice cream parlors? The answer is simple. We sold them, and somebody else sold them again. And then someone decided make some shortcuts, try to make some extra dollars. They cut back on the service, and the customers stopped saying, "I'll be back." I'm still in the restaurant business, but a lot of my time is spent nowadays talking to people in large and small groups about customer service. I'll share more of these talks with you in just a minute. But first, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, Jack McMillan. Jack is co-chairman of Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's is cited in books like Search for Excellence, magazines like Forbes and Fortunes, as being the standard for customer service. Has Nordstrom's always been up on customer service? I mean, does that go way back?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It starts, if you think about our roots, we started in shoes. That's where the family, John Nordstrom back in 1901 started a shoe store, and in shoes, if you stop and think about the way shoes operate, somebody comes in and you take off their shoes and you sit them in a chair and you got a one-on-one experience.
Right.
Go back and get them some shoes and start trying them on, and it's a very intimate kind of a situation as regards to all the other departments in a store where you kind of drift in and drift out. But here they've got you with your shoes off, and a good salesman kind of puts the shoes someplace where you can't quite get to them and get out of there, and establishes a relationship with you. That's what selling is all about. And so that background has kind of made us more aware of the customers, I think, than most of our competitors.
What would you do if all of a sudden you left here and you had to go help this company who was not giving service? How would you get it going?
One of the things that we did that I would certainly duplicate if I went someplace else was come up with a goal-setting process for the company. What we do here at Nordstrom is we want everybody to have a goal. And so we each have individual goals, and then we establish a company goal. The company goal at Nordstrom is customer service. That's our number one goal. It has been for 23 years now. We've formalized it, and we have kind of the idea of going after the goal and the ways that you go after the goal. One of the key ways of going after the goal is recognition. I know you know, Bob, that we all crave recognition, and the more you can kind of set up standards, meetings, opportunities to recognize the people that are giving the customers the superb customer service and holding it up to their peers as a way to get ahead, a way to get recognized, a way to make more money in our company, that sort of an attitude brings them to a greater appreciation of the customer. There's a whole bunch of things that you need to do to get it down to the level where people live. They need to think to themselves, I'll get rewarded for giving customer service, and then they need to have it lived out, and there's kind of an emotional thing that takes place as you do it. You start taking pride in it. At first, in an organization that doesn't give customer service, it's going to be a lot of passive resistance, and you need to start getting people excited about it, and the only way I know of to do that is to be interacting with the people and, as I said, patting them on the back and rewarding them and making them feel good about the customer service they're giving. And at some point, it starts to get to be in the culture and starts building on itself. But getting it going, getting the ball started, is the hard part.
Customer service starts at the top. If you're a manager, you need to set the example. And remember, actions speak louder than words. You need to walk your talk. Your people won't hear a word you say about customer service if all your actions speak about is profit. If you're in business just to make money, you will fail. Because you're going to get greedy. If that's the reason for being in business, you're not giving the service, you don't want to give the service, you don't want to take care of people, you don't want to make people happy, you don't want to lead for their success, you will fail. You must take care. I talk to young people, I always say, why do you think I'm in business? They always say, make money. I said, no. Making money is the result of running a business. It is never the reason to run a business. If we do all the other things correctly, we'll make all the money we want. And in the restaurant business, I see so many people making mistakes. That's the reason I got in it. I figured, look, if they could stay alive, I'll make it if I just give service. Perfect example. One of my partners, Bob McClellan, is in Los Angeles. He and his friend, they finished their work, and they go to a place for dinner. They walk in, it's about 6:30. 2 for dinner, please. And the hostess goes, well, be about a 45-minute wait. He says, okay. He goes to turn to go to the lounge, and he sees 5 empty tables they weren't even using. You ever had that happen to you? We all have. So he goes back to the hostess. He says, young lady, you've got 5 tables you're not even using. Why don't you open those up? She said, well, we never use those on Tuesdays. He says, why don't you use them on Tuesdays? Well, we're never busy on Tuesdays. He says, you're busy. Open them up. You've got plenty of people. Give me each of those girls an extra table. Let's go. She said, we don't use those on Tuesdays. So he said, okay, I do not want to go to the lounge. May I sit at one of those tables and wait? She said, go right ahead. So he sits down. My friend always has a phone. Takes it out of his briefcase and dials information. Then he dials another number. Domino's Pizza. True story. Try it sometime. 25 minutes later, kid walks in with your pizza. Hey, Mr. McClellan, Mr. McClellan, right over here, son. Picks it up, spreads it out on the table. The manager comes over. You can't do that. You can't use that. And he says, why not? You're not using the table. I'm going to use it. I'll guarantee you that restaurant is not in business today if that's the way he was running. You see, he was going to try to make a few extra bucks on Tuesday and cut out some help. And he lost and lost and lost. That's a true story, and it illustrates a very important lesson. Put yourself in the shoes of the hostess. She was told that the empty tables were not to be used on Tuesday. That's the policy. But here's the customer in front of her. And who's the customer? The boss. So what's she going to do to make sure the customer, the boss, says, I'll be back? What would you do? Here's the secret. If you're going to give great customer service, you've got to have the courage to do what it takes to make things right. I'm working away one day. I says, how was everything? A couple came up with a little boy. And he says, fine, everything's fine. How much is my bill? I knew from his voice and his eyes something was wrong. I said, sir, I could tell something's wrong. Please let me know what it was. I'll get it straightened out. He said, no, forget about it. How much is my bill? He said, sir, I said, please, what was the problem? Let me fix it. He says, you can't fix it. His lip was quivering. He was upset. I said, sir, and I told him who I was, I can solve it. What was it? He says, okay. Defiant. He was mad. He says, my son here, he came in for his birthday party. Nobody sang to him, and he never got a free Sunday. Oh, no. I said, well, did you tell the waiter it was his birthday? No, we wanted to surprise him. We told the hostess. Well, I don't know why they sat there with a little guy and never got that, but they did. What am I going to do, tell him a dumb? No. There's only one thing I could do. I went over and I picked the boy up. I said, come here, son. I put him on the register. I went over and I got a Sunday. I don't know whose it was. Grabbed it, put a candle in it, gave it to him. I says, okay, son, what's your name? He says, Alex. I said, how old are you, Alex? He says, 6. Thank you. I turned to the restaurant. The entire restaurant. I said, everybody stop eating. Stop. I want you to sing to this little boy, Alex, because we failed to do it. Take all the blame, take all the blame. I want you to sing like you've never sang before. And I'm leading the singing. They're standing on the chairs, the tables, they're yelling. I think it sounded like a choir. And I'm leading this, you know, and I look over and the mother's crying. Really, the father's about to cry, and I was about to cry. It was exciting. I look up Alex like this. You see, Alex came in for a free Sunday and a little song. But who is Alex? Great! Alex, you take care of the Alexes of the world. I'll never think I'll say those magic words, which are, I'll be back! Okay, you've decided to take care of the customer, and you've established your standards of customer service. What's the next step? Consistency. You must be consistent in all you do. People come to you and me because they know what they're going to get when they get there, and when they don't get it, they get disappointed. And you can be, I tell the people in the restaurant business, you can be mediocre. Stay mediocre. Don't confuse them. It's true. Very successful mediocre companies. You take Lenny's, Denny's. To me, they're mediocre. My opinion, mediocre. Drive down the highway, you see a Denny's sign, you say, well, I won't die, and you go in. You know what you're... I'm waiting for a Denny man to be at one of these talks. But mediocre, I mean, it's not mediocre, not knocking McDonald's. They're consistent. Their hamburgers and milkshakes and fries taste the same throughout the world. They even grow their own potatoes in Russia. just so they can taste the same. Consistency, consistency, consistency. I got a letter one day from Seattle. It says, "Dear Mr. Farrell, I've been coming to your restaurants for 3.5 years. I always order #2 hamburger and a chocolate milkshake. I always ask for an extra pickle, and they always give me one. Today I came into your restaurant, asked for an extra pickle, and your waitress said she'd sell me a side of pickles for $1.25. And I said, I am not paying $1.25. They always give me an extra pickle. They're very nice here. You go ask the manager." She went away, Mr. Farrell. She came back. She said, "Well, I'll sell you a pickle for a nickel." I said, "You can keep your pickle, keep the hamburger and the milkshake. I'm not coming back to your restaurant, Mr. Farrell, if that's the way you're going to do it." You see, you can't switch policies like that. You can't do that. So the secret in business is to give them the pickle. Give them the pickle. Take care of them. What's the difference? You know what? I met this guy a 1.5 years later. He's in an airport in charge of SAS. I'm getting on an airplane with my wife, and he looks, sees my jacket. He says, "You work at Farrell's?" I said, "Yes, I do." He says, "I go there all the time." I said, "Oh, you're kidding?" He says, "Yes." He says, "I love the place." He says, "I wrote Mr. Farrell a letter." And I says, "Well, that's me." He looks at my wife's ticket, and I says, "Oh, yes, it's you." I said, "What'd you write about?" He says, "I wrote about a pickle." I says, "You're the guy that wrote about the pickle?" "I have told thousands of people about your pickle." "That is what? What do you do here at SAS?" He says, "I'm in charge of service here." "No wonder you were so mad when we didn't give you the pickle. The secret is to give pickles away in the life. That's how you make it." Some of the worst pickle givers are banks. Any bankers here? You ever go to a bank? You walk in, and there's 7 windows and 3 open. And all the executives are looking down like they don't see you, you know. And they think they got smart. They went to Disneyland. They learned if you have the line this way, people won't think it's long. Well, we all know it's long. So that don't fool us anymore. Then you go to write a check. They hand you a pen on a chain. One day I was in the bank. I says, "Why do you have this on a chain?" She said, "Well, people take them." I said, "So? Your name's on it? Give them the pen." I ripped it off the chain. She went, "Whoa, I got a problem here." But you know what? That is so stupid. Give the pens away, for crying out loud. Doesn't make any difference. Simple. Now, here comes the really hard part of the whole process. Let's say you've decided to give great service, and you've got the courage to do things right for the customer, and you're consistently giving away pickles. You're doing those little extra things on a regular basis. You've got it all down. So what's the hard part? You're a human being. You're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to have days when you just want to throw customers out the door. You don't want to serve anybody. Well, we all have those days. So you better plan on it. You better work on a technique that helps you get your attitude in check. My favorite attitude story is Diana. Diana never, she'd come in one day and continually, and she wouldn't smile. I say, "Diana, smile." "I am." I says, "You're not smiling." "Well, the people come in this restaurant drive me crazy." I says, "These people are..." "What do you mean? You're in the wrong business." She says, "No, just the ones that come in here." I said, "That's impossible, Diana. You got a trouble." I said, "Diana," I said, "I want you to try something for me." I read it in a book, these training books you read, and they said stories. And I said, "I want you to go up to every customer today as you wait on them and say, 'I like you. I like you.'" She says, "I am not going to do that." I said, No, don't say it out loud. Just say it to yourself." She says, "You're crazy, Mr. I says, "Try it." "Okay, I'll try it." So she's working away, and I'm working the floor, and she's going by me. I says, "Diana, you doing?" "I'm doing it, I'm doing it." I'm not kidding. 20 minutes, she had a smile. 40 minutes, she's rolling. She come up to me, a 2-hour break. She comes up, "Mr. Farrell, you gave me every good customer today, didn't you?" I said, "I did not." She said, "I've tripled my tips." I said, "Sure you did. Your attitude changed. And by you changing, your customer changed." That's the way it works. A smile is like medicine for your attitude and your customers. And it works, whether you're helping them in person or over the telephone. The biggest sin in business today, we hire the lowest salaried person, train them the least, and say, "You answer the phones." And I'll tell you right now, I've gotten a lot of my business because of that wonderful girl or guy who was on the other end of our phone and knew how to talk to the customer. And I've lost a lot of business, and so have you, by a bunch of people who get on the phone, they are not trained, and they don't know how to smile on that phone. You gotta smile. It's gotta radiate across the wires that, thank you for calling, I love you, yes, we do this, we do that, yes, come on in. And I hate when they call up and you have to, you call up somebody and they say, could you put on hold? And I go, no, 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 no. And then the Hawaiian music starts. I hate that. I tell our people, for crying out loud, don't make them wait, call them, phone them back, get their number. And don't think that if you always work behind the scenes, you're off the hook either. That's what I used to tell the dishwashers. Everything you wash ends up in front of the customer. Everything. The worst thing we can do is to have somebody pick up a fork. Ooh, dried lettuce on it. Cracked cup. Lipstick on a glass. Party's over. So remember, everything ends up in front of the customer, who is the boss. And if it isn't perfect, they'll never think or say those magic words, which are, I'll be back. So it has to be, and even in your letters and your business, typos, unallowed. You get a letter with a bunch of typos in it, what do you think of the insurance company? They can't even write, and they want my life. They're going to take care of my family? Big deal. Everything you do ends up right in front of the customer, and everything you do reflects back on the people you work with. We need each other to get the job done. We need each other if we're going to succeed.
We all are looking for our customer, and to the salesperson, the woman or man that walks in the door is our customer. To the people that work in the distribution, for example, the sales floor and the people on the sales floor are their customers. And to the different departments, they all look for somebody within the organization to serve. There's a serving mentality, and I'll tell you, in today's society, I'm not so sure that serving goes down all that well, but that's what they need to get in their minds. Serving people is helping them and helping you. It's a high calling, and I think anybody that appreciates what sales are all about looks at serving as sort of a stepping stone to make that happen.
When I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, we used to have these little turtles. You could buy them in a dime store, and for an extra dime, we get our name put on them. Well, we'd take 8 or 10 of them to school and drive the teacher crazy. Well, when people would be walking around the streets of Brooklyn, past the old brownstone houses with a post and the cement balls, every once in a while, they'd look up and they'd see a turtle just hanging on. And they'd say, how the heck did that turtle get up there? Well, somebody put him up there. And somebody put you where you are. You didn't get there by yourself. I didn't get where I am by myself. I've had thousands of wonderful employees help me. In our organization, we have a motto. If you're not a better person for having worked for us, we have failed. People work because they matter, for no other reason. Money will never make somebody work. It's when they know that people care about them and their goals. And that's the secret of life, of fun, of success, or having a good career. It's really about helping each other on the job perform and achieve our goals, helping our customers that walk into our businesses achieve their goals. Whatever they're doing, whether they're buying a good meal, good service, or opening an account, or just a quality product at a fair price. So if we spend the rest of our lives helping each other achieve our goals, helping our customers achieve their goals, we'll all get there together. Remember who the customer is. Us. And the 3 magic words we always want the customer to think or say, I'll be back. Ah, that's music to my ears. I hope it is to yours as well. Thanks for watching, and good luck to you in your business or your career.